All right, hello, welcome. Thanks for coming out. My name is Matt. I'm one of the public services librarians here at the Palos Heights Public Library. I guess one of the nice things about doing this over Zoom is that nobody had to drive through the snow to get to me. So at least there's that. So you may have a few additional people joining us here, but I'll get some of the preliminaries out of the way. The first of which is, if you could just make sure your mics are muted until the Q&A portion, that would be good, just so that there's no background noise that comes in and interrupts anybody or anything like that. So otherwise, yes, I will stop from time to time to ask for questions. You can unmute, you can ask it. You can also ask it in the chat. The chat should be in your row of menu icons. If you do not see it, you can go all the way to the right-hand side. There should be 3 dots and the word more underneath those dots. If you click that, there should be, chat should be the first thing. So just click on that and you are good to go. I see we already have a chat question. Are there handouts for this presentation? There is a handout. I emailed it out with the link to the Zoom for this. So check that email. If for some reason you did not get it, just let me know and I will resend it afterwards. All right, with that out of the way, let's get going. The first thing is a disclaimer. For this, that disclaimer is all of this information is good as of today. Prices on some of these things may change tomorrow, who knows? And some of the things we talk about may go away tomorrow. We just don't know. It's kind of a fluid situation. So I know going back through this presentation, every time I do it, I have to update some prices. I have to take out one of the streaming services I talked about because it's not around anymore, things like that. So I left some of them in here just crossed out so you can see kind of how things change. But without further ado, here's the agenda. First, we'll talk about terminology, and then we'll talk about the different kinds of smart or streaming devices that you will encounter. So there's TVs, there's external streaming boxes. We'll go in depth on those. And then we'll talk a lot about streaming services, the various ones that are out there and what they offer. So terminology. What is a smart TV? Well, as you can see, it's a TV that allows you to download channels on it that are not just part of a cable package, so that you can stream TV shows, movies, sports, other kinds of things. A lot of TVs these days are smart TVs. So if you buy a new one, it's likely that it'll have a smart TV built into it. Otherwise, if you don't have a smart TV or you just don't want to use the functionality that is in your TV, you can get kind of a standalone external device that you can plug into your TV, and that will kind of do the same thing, just with a different interface. And speaking of interfaces, depending on what brand of device you have, it is just the way on your TV you access these different streaming services and things we're going to talk about. I'll have a lot of pictures of the major interfaces you're likely to encounter. But again, you know, depending on the type of TV you have or the type of device, it might look a little different, but it should kind of flow along the same way as the things we talk about here. We're going to talk about resolution, terms like HD, 1080p, 4K. That all is talking about the quality and fidelity of the screen's image. The higher, the better. So right now, you know, the top dog is 4K or 4000, which we will get further into later. One thing to note is that having a home Wi-Fi connection is required to use a smart device because they all operate on Wi-Fi. So you need to have an internet connection and you need to have Wi-Fi to access it from your smart device. So be aware of that. Now, kinds of devices. We'll talk about smart TVs first. Like I said, everything you need is built right in. Um, the menu for the TV should have options for these various streaming services, but also an option for watching good old cable TV. There may also be an apps option. A lot of them now have built in not just things like Netflix or what have you, but they'll let you get like the weather or look at photos and stuff. So that you can look out for as well. Some TV brands have their own proprietary software like LG, Samsung, and Sony. So those are going to look different than other kinds of TV sets. And we'll look again at pictures of these interfaces. Others license out either Roku or Amazon technology, and those are Sharp and Toshiba. So those will look similar to a Roku streaming box or an Amazon streaming stick. And we'll look at those as well. So common brands for smart TVs, you can see this list here: Element, Hisense, Insignia, LG, Samsung, Sharp, Sony, TCL, Toshiba, Vizio, and Westinghouse. Now, I know, back in the day, you were much better off going with a name brand in terms of quality and reliability. And while that is, somewhat still the case today, there are a lot of these brands like Vizio, TCL. They are, they don't rival Sony in terms of name recognition, but they put out pretty darn good TVs at a fraction of the price for a Sony, especially during a sale. So, these days, in my opinion, you are just as well off going with kind of one of these lesser known brands as you are with something like a Sony or a Samsung. So now some of these interfaces we're going to look at. You can see how wildly different they are in the way in terms of how they look, but you'll see they all share kind of common design language, I guess. So the left-hand side here, we have an LG. On the right-hand side, we have a Samsung. And you can see they look different, but they all have different ways to get to your apps that should, kind of jump out at you. So, and you can see here admitting one more person. They have different apps. They both let you access Facebook if you want to do Facebook on your TV. And then they have, some of them have weather, some of them don't. They should all have pretty easily, you just use your remote, go through and find what you want to do. And we will also talk about how to get new apps and things. Here's just a couple other interfaces. We have Vizio, we have Sony, we have TCL. And again, none of these exactly look the same, but basically they're all just big grids of squares that let you navigate through and pick what app or streaming service you want to watch. So let's talk about smart TV specs. These days, the most common sizes are 55 and 65 inches. You see a lot of 40 inch and 30 inch as well. If that's the size of your room, then that's fine. You can get a good TV in those ranges as well. But these days, there's a lot more selection, I think, at the 55 and 65 inch areas. They'll go up to 100, 105 inches these days if you have a really big wall. So, a lot of this is just based on your budget, your space, kind of look through and see what matches best. There is a scientific, definitive equation on how far away you should sit from a TV. Here, I have that, if you have a 55-inch 1080p screen, you should be, let's cover that, 13.75 feet away from it. If it's a 55-inch 4K screen, you should be 7 feet away from it. I don't know in practice if that actually works, or if it provides a better viewing experience, but those are the guidelines. As I say, realistically, you just get what's best that fits in your room and your budget, and you watch it. Resolution. So these days, probably most of the TVs you're going to see brand new in a store are 4K TVs. They still sell 1080p HD TVs, which is fine. They are now kind of starting to come out with 8K devices. I don't think you need to mess with that yet. There really isn't even any content coming out that is in 8K. And what are we talking about when we talk about 4K, 1080p and all that? So on a TV screen, there are all these lines, right? So when we say 1080p, that means it shows 1080 lines. With 4K or 4000, it shows 4000 lines on the screen. So everything looks, clearer, sharper. I know when the switch from standard def to HD came around, a lot of people who acted or were on camera were suddenly horrified that you could see them a lot better on screen. So some changes had to be made in terms of makeup and all that. But these days, you can get pretty much anything you want in 1080. Things are starting to be 4K now. Sometimes, as you'll see, you have to pay a little bit more to get those 4K signals. But yeah, either way, I'd say probably the best bet today would be to get a 4K TV, just because that's basically the standard now. So if you want to be good and future-proofed, that's what you should get. And you should also look for a TV set that is HDR compatible. So HDR stands for high dynamic range, and it gives you brighter, more vibrant colors and a more dynamic color range. Not all TVs have that. So you might want to look. More and more of them are coming with it built in. It used to be the higher price ones had HDR, but more of them have it now. So take a look at the specs when you are shopping. And if it's within your budget, I would say go for it, because a lot more things are taking advantage of it and provides a better picture. So as we can see, HDR versus non-HDR. On the left-hand side here, you can see on the left side of the split screen TV, that's 4K. The right-hand side is 4K with HDR. So it just looks more lively. And the same with the rest of these examples that I have here. Let's see, I do have a couple of questions coming in. Let me take a look here. Is there a way to plug in a real USB keyboard to a smart TV? Using the pop-up keyboard and the arrow keys on a remote is a pain in the butt, let's say. And yes, I totally agree. I don't like, especially when you have to type in like an email address and a password or something, it's no good. So yes, some TVs will allow you to put in a keyboard. Some of them have USB ports plugged in or built in to the side. You can try it. You can try plugging it in, see if it'll respond. If it doesn't, a lot of these streaming services these days, which we'll get to, they recognize that it is a big pain to type in all this stuff on a remote and an on-screen keyboard. So they'll have a way where you can, on a computer or a phone or an iPad, a tablet, you can go to wherever it is you're logging into, log in easier that way with like a real keyboard, and then it'll give you a code that you can use the remote to type in on the screen, and it'll log you in that way. So a lot more of these streaming places are doing that these days, and I find that to be very handy. And whenever I encounter one that does not do that, I always fire off a little letter to their feedback email and hope it does not go unnoticed. Another question, I would like to get rid of cable, but I'm confused as what is the best way to stream without cable. I'm thinking about Hulu plus live TV because I still like to watch news on networks. That we will get to exactly that near the end here. So hang tight, and hopefully it will be answered. If not, feel free to ask any further questions. Okay, smart TV specs continued. Screen technology. So you'll see things like LED screens and OLED screens. LED screens, they are the most common screens these days. They're fine for most people. Like I say here, they're a lot cheaper than the OLEDs, although OLEDs are becoming more common. And OLED is the best option. It stands for organic light emitting diode instead of just light emitting diode. So if you've got money to spend, I would recommend an OLED screen because it'll be, better, but I don't know if it's that much better that you should be, saving away for one instead of just getting a normal LED screen if you need it. Refresh rates. You'll see some specs. Some TVs come with 60, 80 hertz refresh rates. Some come with 120 or above, like 144, 160. I would say these days, you would want at least 120 hertz. Is the rate at which the screen refreshes. So it gives you more realistic motion and video, and it just provides a better viewing experience. For HDMI ports, you'll want to look for a TV that has at least 3, preferably 4, just because a lot of things you're going to plug in these days. HDMI is the standard for it. So if you've got a DVD player, if you are hooking up an external streaming device like we're going to talk about, you might have a game console, you might have something else like a receiver or something. So the more ports, the better. Like I know in my household, we have 4 ports in our TV, but even still, we are, kind of switching out, hot swapping different HDMI plugs in sometimes just because we have more devices than we have ports for. You could always get an extender, but then it's also kind of its own set of things to navigate. So I would just try to get 4 and go from there. Another question, do LED screens burn? I see ghosts on mine, but if I switch backgrounds, they seem to go away. So yeah, these screens are different than, your traditional, the old big TV sets with the cathode ray tubes in there, where those, if you let it sit on one picture for too long, that image would get burned into the TV screen. I think the current science on it is that it won't burn in, but I am still wary of it. So I don't like to let things sit for too long on one static image. And I know even like I have a Roku at home, and if I let it, pause something or just let it sit on the menu screen for too long, it'll throw up a screensaver. And I'm fine with that. I don't think it's totally necessary, but I also don't want to take any chances with, this. I don't even care if it was not an expensive TV. You don't want to have to go out and get a new one just because of an image burn-in. So yeah, I would just be on guard to not keep that one static image on the screen at all times. So let's get going. This was a video about motion smoothing presented by Mr. Tom Cruise. However, the link might have changed, but I wasn't going to play it anyway, just because when I stream things through Zoom to people, it gets pretty choppy. So basically what Mr. Tom Cruise was saying was that all these TVs, they come with something turned on. It's called motion smoothing. Depending on the brand, it could be, another term. But if you ever get a new TV and it looks like it's way too realistic in the way people are moving on it, or something just looks off, it's probably because motion smoothing is on. And TV, movies, they're all filmed for that to not be on, but because it looks more lifelike, TV manufacturers ship these TVs with it on by default. So if you don't like that, you can go in and turn it off. I know whenever, my parents or my in-laws get a new TV, I go over there and I'm just like, what am I looking at? And then when they're not looking, I sneak in and turn it off, and everyone's happier. So yeah, just dig around your menus, your video options, and you will find something like motion smoothing, and you can turn it off. Or if you like it, leave it on. It's your TV. Now prices. So these days, you'll see you range from $300 to $3,000 or more, and it all depends on the brand, the sale, the size of the TV. Like I said before, value brands like Vizio and TCL are actually very highly rated and reviewed by trusted sources. Samsung and LG, those are good quality, middle of the road price TVs. Sony, great quality, great reviews, but they tend to be pretty pricey. When looking for a TV, you can go on Amazon, you can go on Best Buy, whatever, look at the reviews that people have. That is good. I would also recommend you go to a site like Consumer Reports, which you can access for free with your library card. There's a site called the Wirecutter. These provide good professional reviews. They'll tell you which TVs in your price range you should be looking at. The Wirecutter goes a step further. They evaluate everything out there and say, like, look, this is the best TV for this price range. This is why we think that. They'll also give a runner-up or two. You can also ask us, your local librarians. We love to provide information so you can make an informed, good decision. TVs, as you probably know, they get really excellent sale prices around Black Friday and the big game. I don't want to get sued, so I'll just say the big game. So yeah, look for sales around then. And yeah, like I said, there's a lot of different TVs out there with a lot of different specs, screen sizes, all that kind of stuff. It's really just all about your personal preference, what kind of budget you have for a TV, and how much space you have. So, I give some guidelines in this, but it all comes down to that. And I will pause here. If you have a question, feel free to drop it into the chat. Feel free to unmute and ask it. And while we're pausing, I'll drink some water. All right. Seeing and hearing none, I will charge ahead to talk about different kinds of devices, like external streaming devices. So if you have a dumb TV, which is, a TV that is not a smart TV, you would need one of these to plug into your TV to get to the kind of streaming services I'm going to talk about later on. It needs to be plugged in to both the TV with an HDMI cable and a power plug. So you should also take note of the plug HDMI port you plug it into. Is it HDMI 1, 2, 3, 4? Just so that you can find the correct place to go to on your remote. So yeah, using your TV's remote, switch the TV's input to that port, and then you go to the device's remote, and from there you navigate the device. You might also want one, if you have a TV that has one of those custom UI user interfaces and you don't like it, you might just get a Roku or an Amazon Fire Stick, throw that in there, use that. Something else to note is whether it's one of these external streaming boxes, a Roku, a Google Chromecast, an Amazon Fire Stick, those will tend to have all the different streaming channels available. Some of these different TVs, especially earlier model smart TVs, they might not get every channel or streaming service you want to look at. So if you don't have it on your current TV and it's a smart TV, you might need to either upgrade to a newer TV, or if your TV's fine, much cheaper to just get one of these external boxes and plug that in. So the popular streaming boxes are the Amazon Fire TV, the Apple TV, the Google Chromecast, and Roku. So we will get into the different offerings from all of those, starting with the Amazon Fire TV. So these are heavily integrated with Amazon's own video content offerings. They have Alexa built in, so if you like using Alexa, you'll be right at home, although you don't need to use Alexa with it. It has access to other streaming services as well, not just Amazon's. It comes currently in stick and cube forms. You can see the cube down there near the bottom, and then the stick is that little rectangle right next to that remote. And on that remote, you see that little microphone button near the top of it. That's what you'd hold down to access Alexa. And you can ask it normal Alexa things like, hey, what's the weather? You can also say, hey, Alexa, put on Netflix or whatever stuff, actual TV stuff like that. The Amazon Fire offerings also have games you can download to them and other apps. Like if you use Amazon to back up photos from your smartphone, when you log into your Fire TV, it'll pull those and use them as a screensaver. So kind of nice. So the current gen of Amazon devices support up to 4K. You can get a stick, which again is that little rectangle over there, it just plugs directly into the TV. That is $20 for a 1080p resolution stick. If you want the 4K stick, that is $30 to $40, depending on if you want it with the new Wi-Fi standard, Wi-Fi 6. You don't need to with the way things are today. The non-Wi-Fi 6 model is probably fine because you probably don't have a Wi-Fi 6 access point in your home yet. But I'd say years down the road, you'd want Wi-Fi 6, but right now you don't need it. Or the Cube, that goes up to a whopping $120, but it is also much faster. It's got, the guts inside of it are faster than the sticks. So that is what you're paying for. Or if you just, you want a giant cube, well, not a giant, but a small cube on your shelf instead of a stick, then that's what you should go for. Any questions here about the Amazon stuff? All right, seeing none. This is what the Amazon user interface looks like. So it'll show you along the top there, it says Bosch. That'll be their kind of carousel of things they want you to watch. So that'll be a lot of Amazon stuff or, movies they want you to rent. So that all goes through the Amazon Prime Video. Underneath is a recent. So, if you've recently watched a show and want to get back to it, you'll just find it right there and you can pick up right where you left off. Underneath that, it says My Apps and Games, and that is where your other non-Amazon stuff will live. So Netflix, Hulu, and they have an Amazon Music app in there, an NBC News app. They have all the other different news services as well. You just navigate to that, open it up. Along the very top, you see, it says Home, Your Videos, Movies, TV shows, apps, Settings. So this is where the Amazon-ness of it comes in again, where it says Your Videos. That's like if you've gone on to Amazon.com and purchased or rented a movie or a season of a TV show or something, it'll be there in Your Videos. And if you go to Movies or TV shows, that's where they'll show you different movies and TV shows you can rent or buy. Apps is where you're going to want to go to search for everything else. So, it does not come with Netflix. You have to go to the App Store there under apps, search for Netflix, then you can download it and log in. So that will be probably one of the first things you'd want to do when setting up a new Fire TV device. Next up, we have Apple TV. Apple has their own streaming device. This one is good for if you have an iPhone or an iPad and you are integrated with the Apple ecosystem pretty heavily. This would be good for you because it'll pull your photos that you've saved to iCloud. If you have Amazon Music or iTunes, you'll be able to play all that stuff through it as well. And this has Siri built in, which operates a lot similarly to Alexa on the Amazon device. This does feature their streaming service, Apple TV Plus, which we'll talk about. But you can also get everything else on it as well. You can get Netflix, you can get Amazon Video, all that stuff. It does have games and non-streaming apps as well. It's got its own little app store if you're familiar with on your phone or iPad. This one comes in two different flavors. So Apple TV HD, which goes up to 1080p, that's $150. Apple TV 4K, that is $180 to $200. The difference between the prices here is the $200 has more storage space than the $180 version. So you can see in the corner, it's a little rectangle, a square box, and it has a little remote. And that's really all there is to it for that. This user interface, again, along the top here, they have their little carousel of things they're going to want to show you or want you to buy. Underneath that, you can see there's Apple TV, there's the iTunes icon. This is an older screenshot that would now be replaced with the Apple Music icon, games, App Store, photos, all that. Underneath that is where you would see the icons for your different streaming services. And to get to those, of course, you would go to the App Store icon on the right-hand side in this screenshot. Look up Netflix, look up whatever. All right, Google Chromecast and Google Chromecast with Google TV. That is a mouthful, but that is the official name of that product. These are a little different. So the original Google Chromecast, that did not have its own apps. So it would just mirror whatever is on your phone or your tablet or your computer. So you would start something, you would tell an app on your phone or computer to play it on the Chromecast, and then it would start playing it on your TV. It was not really very user-friendly if you weren't really kind of a tech person. But now they recently came out with Google Chromecast with Google TV. Don't like saying that, but they did. And that lets you put on apps and browse things. So you can actually download Netflix to it. You can actually download Amazon to it, whatever you got. The nice thing about that is it also allows you they built something in where no matter what service it is, if you search for it, it'll just play it. You don't have to go into the different apps to do it. That one has two versions. The original Chromecast up to 1080p is $30. The Google Chromecast with Google TV goes up to 4K, and that is $50. If you were going to get one of these, I would strongly suggest the one with Google TV, just because it's a lot more user-friendly and works more like the other ones I've mentioned. So the old Chromecast interface was like this. Like on your phone, you'd pull something up on YouTube and say, oh, hey, broadcast this to my Chromecast, and it would do it. It was weird. I don't really know why they went that route. The new Google Chromecast with Google TV looks like this. Very similar to the other ones we've talked about. Along the top, it's got the different tabs for searching for movies, shows, or apps, showing things that are in your Google library, like if you have an Android device and you have purchased TV shows or movies from the Google App Store or Media Store, they'll show up there. And then, you can see they've got top picks, they've got their own carousel of stuff, and then along the bottom, the different apps from the different service providers. And then Roku. This was the original streaming box. You can access all streaming services on it. There's no like preference for one thing or the other. Like the other ones kind of try to promote their own offerings, like their Apple TV, their Amazon, their Google Media Empire. They have games, but they don't have any traditional apps like a weather or photos or anything. And it has a lot of different options. So you get a Roku Express, which does up to 1080p. That is $30. You get a Roku Express 4K Plus, which of course does 4K. That's $40. And the Roku Express are, if you look in the bottom left-hand side, that little object that guy's holding, that's the Roku Express. So it's just a tiny little box that you plug an HDMI cable to, plug a power cord into, and that's it. They also have a stick version, which is in the middle, an HDMI stick that you just plug directly into the computer or into the TV. That stick, the 4K version is $50. Roku Streaming Stick 4K Plus, which includes the Wi-Fi 6 technology and a lost remote finder, that is $70. The Roku Ultra, which is pictured in the right-hand side, but kind of above the bottom picture there. That's the Roku Ultra. That also goes up to 4K and has a lost remote finder. That is $100. And again, it's bigger, so it has faster innards in it. And then there is something new called a Roku Stream Bar, which is a Roku streaming box plus a sound bar, which we will talk about in a couple minutes, for $130. So I've been talking about faster innards and things. Basically what that means is sometimes, and especially as time goes on, it'll take longer and longer. You'll hit, okay, start Netflix, and it will take noticeably longer to start than it did when you first got it. If you get, the faster device, it will remain faster and longer, and right out of the box probably. The lost remote finder, that in my household, a Black Friday sale, I got a Roku Ultra for, I think it was $25, $30 off, and it's just a lifesaver. We lose remotes several times a day in my house. I don't know why, but we hit that lost remote finder, and then the remote makes a little noise, and it has made life a lot more pleasant. So if that happens to you, it was worth it to me to spend the extra money to get that built in. And the Roku Interface, another big grid of squares. The left-hand side is the different menu options. You would look, go down to streaming channels, and there you would be able to look for Netflix or what have you. Settings, search. The search here is not searching for streaming channels, but also for like shows. So if you wanted to, watch All Creatures Great and Small, the new PBS series, you could search for it there and it'd show you what different streaming services that is on, or what have you. All right, I will pause here and see if there are any questions. Type them in the chat or unmute. Looks like Bob has a tip. Buy a generic remote so you have two and aren't moving them around all the time. That is a good tip. And I actually have something about that in a little bit.
Can you tell me how you would get to the interface screen on your TV?
So on your TV, it should be, when you first turn it on, it should just boot up like to the interface. If it doesn't, look on your remote. There could be, and again, it varies based on what TV you have, the manufacturer. It could be under menu. It could be, there could be another word for it somewhere. So yeah, that would be what I would do. If you like, you can let me know, what kind of TV you have, and I can look it up and afterwards, and I can, get in touch with you to navigate through that.
Thank you.
Mhm. Another question, are you a fan of the universal remote where all things are set up in one device? And in fact, that is on this very next page of other hardware you can get to improve your experience. And yes, universal remotes. If you don't want to deal with more than one remote, like, because, in my house, we have the TV, we have the Roku, we have the sound bar. So that's 3 remotes potentially we could be juggling. And we actually got one of these Logitech Harmonies, and you can hook that into your computer and tell it, hey, these are the kinds of devices I got, and then just from that one remote, you can control everything. So that is definitely nice. So you're not juggling remotes. They did recently cut back pretty heavily on the number of different Harmony models that are available. So I don't know really why they did that, because, like I said here, it's the cream of the crop. It's the thing everyone went to for universal remotes these days. So yeah, snatch one of those up. There are, of course, other offerings. Just look on Amazon for universal remote. And I don't, I can't personally attest to those other ones, but I'm sure they work fine. Antennas are back. So if you cut the cord, you don't have cable anymore, you can get your local TV stations with an antenna in glorious HD picture. Sometimes, depending on where you position the antenna, some things might come in better than others. I know getting CBS can sometimes be a challenge, just because of the frequency at which that station transmits. So it might not be perfect, but it will allow you to get local TV stations for free. And there are more. So like, you can get NBC or Channel 5, but then they also have 5.1, 5.2, 5.3 that broadcast crazy different things sometimes. So it's kind of fun to poke around with that. And then sound bars, like I talked about, the Roku now has their own sound bar that comes with Roku streaming built in. They look like that. They're, rectangles that you lay in front of your TV. Some of them come with a subwoofer, which is behind that sound bar in the picture there. A lot of newer TVs, they have weak down or rearward facing speakers. And just because these TVs are so small and thin now that putting a good speaker in, there's not a lot of room to do it. So, I got one on sale once just because I wanted to see what it was like. And there's a significant difference in the sound quality. So, if you're looking to up your sound game for your TV, you can look into one of those. Again, try and get one around the sale times, and you'll be even happier. Let's see, we do have some questions coming in. Is there a particular antenna you would recommend? Not really. Like if you look on Amazon, there are a bunch of them on there. The ones that have the highest rated reviews, probably going to be okay. Some of them are actually like rabbit ear antennas. Some of them are, the little flat squares, rectangles like I show here. They're going to be okay. And as Bob points out in the chat, yeah, if you get one of the old fashioned antennas, you'll get everything, no problem. So if you want to do that, go ahead. If you want to buy something significantly cheaper, you can get the other one, but yeah, the quality will definitely not be as good as with those other ones, the big boys, the old ones. Do you have to stick these antennae in a window? No. So well, I should say it depends. You don't have to, but you might find you get better reception if you do. So again, a lot of it, especially with the smaller ones that you can get off Amazon, those will be very dependent on location. So, if you've got trees blocking it, if your elevation is slightly different, that'll be all kind of a factor in the quality of the signal that you get in. So that's, you kind of got to have to experiment with it, move it around, and see what works best. Some people, they don't work at all. Other people, it works no problem. One of these little cheapy ones. So yes, unfortunately, there's no one answer fits all for that. What do you think of the Ubiquity Dream Machine? Well, you get a prize because you have stumped the presenter. I don't know. I will have to look that up and see what it's all about. But that's a good question. I will make a note to do that. Okay, so yeah. These have been great questions. If there are any more, you can keep them coming in. We are about to transition into the actual streaming services themselves. And we will talk about those. Okay. Okay, yeah. I can kind of see what this Ubiquity thing is now. It looks interesting. I will have to look more into it though before I can elucidate upon it. So, all right, now, streaming services. This is what you do with your smart TV or your external streaming box. They are kind of like TV channels. Most of the content on them is on demand. Some of them do have live things that you can look at. The release schedules of shows vary, which we will talk about. There are a lot of them these days. We'll talk about the ones we talk about. There are like a lot more than the ones we're going to talk about. One thing to note is bandwidth caps. So if you have Comcast internet, Xfinity internet, you have a bandwidth cap, which means you can stream, I think or you can download or upload together total about 1.25 terabytes per month, which for most people, they don't even scratch like more than a couple percent of that per month. But with streaming these days, you're going to be hitting that a lot more, especially 1080p content is one thing. When you go to 4K content, like I said, that's an extra 3,000 some lines they're fitting onto your TV. That is bigger than 1080p content. So if you stream a lot, or download a lot of things as well as stream, you could be running into that bandwidth cap. So keep an eye on it. You can log into your account and see where you're at as far as the cap. If you can get AT&T fiber, they don't have any caps, at least for the moment. So you can watch whatever you want with reckless abandon, and it'll be fine. If you do hit a cap, what they do, Comcast anyway, is they will give you 1 month, say, okay, you know what, you went over your cap, next month we're going to start charging you. So it's an extra, I think $50 per, per extra couple gigabytes that you go over the cap. So it is something to be aware of in this day and age. They don't need to have a cap. They say it's because they need to keep their network free from people just using it all the time, but they suspended the cap back when the lockdowns hit and everyone was home streaming and it was fine. In my opinion, the caps are there because people are canceling cable TV and they need another way to generate revenue. So just be on your toes about that. Some of the other things you can get on these devices are apps, like on your phone, but on your TV. And those are informational, like, a weather app or something, some games, photo apps, things like that. So Different streaming services that we're going to talk about today. Some of the most popular ones. You can see some of these have lines through them, and these are ones that have gone away since I've started doing this program, which I started it, I think, in 2019. So, yeah, they're always changing the landscape. Thankfully, they go away less than more of them get added, but just something to be aware of, that just because you have it today, it might not be there forever. So we'll start talking about Acorn. This one I talk about mostly just because it's an example of the different kind of streaming services you can get. This one is basically your home for British TV. So if you like British mysteries, British dramas, British comedies, they're on Acorn TV. They have a lot of British shows. They have new ones, old ones, and it is on, all your major streaming devices, your Rokus, your Apple TVs, your Fire Sticks. It's on most smart TVs. Again, sometimes you might have your brand of smart TV just might not get it for some reason. So be aware of that. Their pricing structure, which is similar to a lot of the other ones we'll see, $5.99 a month, $60 a year. And now you may be thinking, okay, I cut cable because I wanted to cut costs, but now here's a dozen streaming services that I can get that cost $6 to $15 a month. And it does all add up. But at least in my household, the way we get around this is, we'll subscribe to something when a new show comes out. We'll watch our show, and then we'll unsubscribe, wait until the new season comes out. So, yeah, that's how we balance it, and it has been working out pretty well so far. A lot of these also have free trials. So if there's just one show you want to watch, some of them have 7-day trials, some of them have 14-day trials, some of them have 30-day trials. So you can access a trial and watch your show, and then that's that. Amazon Prime Video. This is one of the bigger, more major ones. It is available on all streaming devices. It includes original TV shows and movies produced by Amazon, many of them now award-winning. You'll see more and more these days, like the Emmys, the Golden Globes, what have you. A lot more of these streaming shows are getting nominated and winning awards. So for their episodes of original content, they are usually released all at once. So, a new series of like Bosch, based on the Michael Connelly novels available here in the library. Those are released. Every episode will be available starting on day one. So you don't have to wait a week for episode 2 or whatever. If you want, you can watch them all the first day. They also have a rotating selection of non-Amazon movies and TV shows. One of the things they started doing, especially during the pandemic, is they will have, sometimes movies that come out in the theater, they'll have them available to rent on Amazon that same day. So, it might cost you $20, but it's a movie that just came out in the theater and probably cheaper than going, to the theater with ticket prices these days. So if you want to watch that from the comfort of your own home, you can. They also have, a lot of not currently in the theater movies, a lot of older TV shows that you can watch. Some of these are included on Amazon Prime. So if you have Amazon Prime, you automatically get Prime Video as part of that. And you can watch whatever you want that is labeled Amazon Prime. Other things are not part of Amazon Prime, and you need to actually go to Amazon and either buy or rent them. And so yeah, just be on the lookout for that. The pricing structure, Prime Video only. So if you don't want the rest of Amazon Prime, like the 2-day shipping or whatever, it is possible just to get the video only, which would be $9 a month. If you want all of Amazon Prime, that's $13 a month or $120 a year. They do have something where if you are on EBT or have a Medicaid card, you can get it for $5.99 a month. So look into that if you have that. Apple TV Plus. This is kind of an up and comer. It just debuted November 1st, 2019. It is available on Apple TV and Roku, not Amazon at the moment. It has original content produced by Apple. So, Ted Lasso, that's probably their biggest breakaway hit. That is on Apple TV. People love it. They do a release format with their new original shows. They'll release the first 3 episodes and then 1 more per week after that. Their price is $4.99 a month, which is not too bad. Or when you get a new iPhone, iPad, iPod Touch, computer, Apple TV box, you get 3 months for free. It used to be a year for free, but they recently cut that down to 3 months. But yeah, they're new, but they are getting more and more stuff. So I think it's worth checking out, especially if you can get one of these free trials, see what they got. Yeah, they're becoming kind of more of a bigger player, I guess, in terms of getting some of these original shows that people really like. They also have original movies. And let's see, yes, the question coming in. So Apple TV Plus is only available on the Apple TV or the Roku. That is true. You can also watch it on a computer if you don't have a Roku or Apple TV. In time, it might be available on more devices. But for now, like Amazon, they have their own Prime Video thing going. They don't want Apple TV Plus on their device. So that's kind of the issue with that, which is why Roku is pretty neutral. You can get anything on a Roku. So unless you have a particularly strong affinity with one of the other ones, that'll probably be the best way to go, just because you'll usually get the most availability for these different services. All right, Paramount Plus used to be called CBS All Access, which they changed it to Paramount Plus. I don't know why. I think CBS, you get a lot more instant identification as to what's going to be on this. But hey, I am not a corporate executive, so I don't know. This one is available on all devices. It includes every CBS show, from the old classics to modern day. Over 10,000 episodes of TV available on demand. So if you have a favorite show you used to watch back in the day, it's more than likely available here. They also have original exclusive programming. A lot of the new Star Trek stuff and some of the other things, they're also available here. They have shows also from BET, Comedy Central, MTV, Nickelodeon, Smithsonian Channel, kind of the CBS media empire. It's all focused here in the Paramount Plus app. They have live news and sports for some things. So that might be worth checking out. Their programming release schedule is 1 episode per week, and they have a pricing structure. So for $5 a month, you can watch the shows, but they will have commercial breaks. For $10 a month, you can get it without commercials. And again, $50 a year with commercials, $100 a year without commercials. This is one of the ones that we subscribe to just when there's, a new show out on it that we want to watch. So yeah, they are kind of getting smart to it, I think, because okay, we're big nerds. We watch Star Trek. The current season of Star Trek on here, they have they split it. So now it was in December and January. Then instead of wrapping it up in January, now it got cut in half. The rest of it's going to be out in February. So now I still have to subscribe in February as well. And then after that, another new Star Trek show comes in March. So I think they're kind of catching on to my scheme here. But you could always just wait for the entire thing to air, subscribe to it a month, for 1 month and watch it that way. So we can still get around their schemes. Crunchyroll This one I just put on here just to show, again, anything is available as a streaming service. This one is all anime all the time. So if you're into Japanese animation, this has anything and everything you could possibly want for the most part. $8 a month. So, just an example. If there's nothing here that you're interested in, I guarantee there's a streaming service out there that does have stuff you're interested in. So just search for it. DC Universe Online, that one went away. A lot of the stuff that was on this switched over to HBO because HBO bought the DC parent company, Warner Brothers. They're all mixed in together. But this is an example of one that was here and went away. Disney Plus, another big one. This one came out November 12th, 2019. It's available on all devices. It has a huge catalog. So pretty much all Disney shows, Disney movies, that'll be on Disney Plus. They have, Star Wars, Marvel, Disney bought all that stuff. So those shows are on here. There's a lot of those that get a lot of buzz when they come out. They have a lot of original shows and movies, as well as their older back catalog. But when this first came out, I was looking through the list, like, do I really want to get this? But, for our trying to expose the kids to movies we watched as kids, it's endless. Hey, watch this movie from the 80s. It's great. So yeah, they recently went up from $6.99 a month to $7.99 a month, or $80 for a year. So that's kind of another trend that's been happening recently, is the prices for these per month are going up, unfortunately. ESPN Plus. This is available on most devices. All the boxes and most of the TVs, I would say, probably get ESPN Plus. This has live sports and original ESPN shows, as well as archived older stuff. Their pricing structure is $6.99 a month, or $70 a year. So like sports, that's probably a good one. HBO Go and HBO Now. Those used to be two different HBO apps that were very confusing. Like, why do you have two different apps that essentially do the same thing? Well, they replaced those with HBO Max. This one is available on all devices. It is their standalone streaming service. It has all shows and movies that are on normal HBO. And if you subscribe to HBO on cable, you get this for free as part of that. It has, HBO Max originals that are only available as part of an HBO Max subscription. This one, HBO, they're always generally more expensive than the other things. If you want a 1080 streaming, that is $9.99 a month, or $100 a year for 4K. It goes up $5 to $15 a month, or $150 per year. If you have, AT&T owns all this now. So if you have an AT&T cell phone, internet, or TV, they usually will have a promotion going where you get HBO Max for free as part of that. Another thing you could do, and I'm not saying you should, but I have AT&T internet and phone, so I could get this for free. But before we had AT&T and internet, AT&T phone and internet, my parents subscribed to HBO as part of their cable package, and we just used their login at our house to log into HBO Max. So, if you know someone with HBO, or you could do this round robin, like, hey, here's my Netflix password, give me your HBO password. That could be another way to kind of cut down on some of the costs. But my mom's at my house all the time anyway, watching these kids. So who's to say it's not really her watching these shows? Hulu. Hulu is another big one. This one is available on all devices. It's great for cord cutters. This was one of the original streaming services, and it got off the ground by having new episodes of TV shows the day after they aired. So, if you watched, Lost or something on TV, but you didn't have cable anymore or access to your local stations, you could see it on Hulu the next day. They have kind of expanded now into their own original content. A lot of these places now, they do their own original TV shows and movies. And some of the original offerings like that, they've gone away just because, people say, hey, wait, why should I put my show on Hulu when I can have people subscribe to my own channel and get my shows that way? So it doesn't have everything anymore where it used to, but it still has a lot of different stuff to comb through. They also have a Hulu Plus Live TV option, which we talked about briefly earlier. This is where you can watch live TV and sports. So it's kind of a cable TV replacement, and you can record up to 50 hours of TV. It's kind of like a cloud-based DVR. So without ads, or with ads, I'm sorry, it's $7 a month. Hulu with no ads is $13 a month. Now you'll see the Hulu Plus Live TV gets a lot more expensive. That is $70 per month, but also includes Disney Plus and ESPN Plus. The no ads version of that is $76 per month. The prices for these with live TV things, I have a couple more in here. They keep going up and up and up as well. So just be on the lookout. Like, I think when I first started doing this in 2019, it was $50 a month for Hulu Plus Live TV. And, every couple of months it seems to go up $5. You can get a bundle. Disney owns all of these things, so you can get Disney Plus, ESPN Plus, and Hulu for $13.99 a month if you so choose. Netflix, available on all devices. One of the original streaming services, still the gold standard. They have a wide variety of TV shows and movies. They have, a large and growing amount of original content, a lot of it award-winning. They do the, hey, we're going to give you every episode at once type release schedule. So, I know a lot of some friends of mine, they, new series or show will come out, they'll watch it all in 1 or 2 days, and then, wait a year or two for the next season to come out. Their pricing structure, you might have seen in the news, they recently increased their prices a little bit. For non-HD quality in one screen, you get $10 a month. For their standard package, that is HD, so 1080p quality, and you can stream it on up to 2 screens. So one, you can have it on 2 TVs at the same time. You could have it on a TV and a phone or a tablet or a computer at the same time. That's $15.49 a month. Or premium, 4K quality and up to 4 screens at the same time. That is $20 a month. I'll try and get through these a little faster now because I know it's after 3. Peacock, this one is new. This is the NBC streaming service. It's available on all devices. It has a bunch of old NBC TV shows and some older movies, but it also has, of course, Peacock only original content. Some of these, it has some limited live TV events depending on your subscription tier. So maybe a sporting event or some news or something, or an awards show. It might show you some of that. They are different because they have a free tier where you don't have to pay at all. That gets you 40,000 hours of TV and movies, but none of their new shows. So none of the new NBC shows are their original content. $5 a month gets you 60,000 plus hours of TV and movies. It does have ad breaks, but it does have the new shows. If you are a subscriber to Comcast or Xfinity, you get this as part of your subscription, that $5 tier. So you don't have to pay extra for it. Or they have a $10 a month no ads version that also lets you download shows to a computer or tablet if that is your thing. PBS. PBS has a new subscription service, and basically it's free, but if you are a PBS member and support your local station, you get kind of some more benefits. The free version lets you see currently running PBS shows and your live local PBS station. But for $5 a month or $60 a year, you get all PBS shows, not just the currently running ones, so that if you like Downton Abbey, that's not on currently, you can still access it with the $5 a month, $60 a year tier. They give you the entire season at once, not just one new episode a week. And you get early access to new shows, which is kind of a neat little perk. And you get your live local station as well. Philo is another cable TV replacement. This one is available on most of your devices. It does not have local channels, but it has 64 cable channels. It's $25 a month, but depending on the add-on, you can add on a premium movie channel like Stars or Epix for an extra $10 a month or something. So if you're cutting the cord, but you still want those cable channels, that is probably the most cost-effective way to do it. You just have to check, to see if any of those 64 channels are something you're actually interested in seeing. PlayStation Vue, this was another cable TV replacement that got shut down. Sling, yet another cable TV replacement. This one has live cable TV channels. It does not have local channels. It has two different packages, orange and blue. They have some of the same channels, some different channels. So you'd want to go to the Sling TV website, see what is in each of those packages. You can subscribe to both for a slight discount. So yeah, you can see the pricing structure. Sling Blue has 32 channels. That's $35 a month. Sling Orange has 10 more channels for the same price, $35 a month, but they're not the same. So you can get Sling Orange plus Blue for $50 a month. That's getting more expensive, but you have all their possible channels. YouTube TV. This is from Google, another cable TV replacement. This does show live TV. It does have local channels and cable channels, so that is a leg up on some of these other ones. It's available on most devices. It has over 85 cable channels and, of course, includes the local channels. Unlimited recording space, and it's $65 a month. This also went up recently. It used to be $60 a month. So yeah, again, with this stuff, just do your research, see what different channels they have, see what one works best for you. Places to look for deals. A lot of streaming services, they go on sale between Black Friday and the end of the year. So you might be able to get 3 months for a discounted price or a full year for a discounted price. So you can check with those streaming services to see that. Amazon, through the Amazon Video app, you can subscribe to other things through them. So you can get HBO, Paramount Plus, Showtime, whatever, through them. And they also sometimes have sales. Like I know around holiday time last year, you could get 3 months of Showtime for 99 cents or something. So you might want to look at that as well. And that's it. So I know we've gone over a little, but we have had some good questions that we were looking at. So if there are any more questions, feel free to put them in the chat. Feel free to unmute and ask me. Otherwise, these are some of our upcoming classes the next couple of months. So feel free to register for those on our website or give the library a call and we will register you as well. Right now, these are all going to be virtual over Zoom just because we are not, for a while there, we thought, hey, we might be back to in-person. But then this new wave hit and those plans were dashed. So yeah, that's it. Thanks for coming out. Have a lovely rest of your day. If you ever have any other questions or anything, feel free. You can email me. Just reply to that email I sent out with the link to today's class, and I will do my best to answer whatever questions you have. So thanks again.